Crocodile Dundee is absent again.
Yep, Crocodile D done gone.
Yeah.
He's been replaced by this gentleman.
My brother Dave.
Yes.
We talked about it a little bit.
Yep. This is the brother.
Yeah,
One
we
of the
reference you
Brother from the
every
same mother.
so
Yes.
often, but not on a consistent basis. You'll just come up every now and then. I think we brought you up first when we were talking about if it went dark.
Oh yeah, yeah. Our end of the world series.
Yeah. When the end times come, Dave has been training for this.
I don't know about training, but
Well,
thought about it a little bit.
Contemplating it.
Yeah. About it a bit.
Yeah, because Lee had too. That during that first lockdown we were talking about.
Yep.
He was ready for things to go dark.
I feel like anybody that likes zombie movies, zombie apocalypse, or The Walking Dead or anything, has all like planned it out in their
To
heads.
some degree.
Realistically, I think we've been conditioned for the media. I mean, what are the most like popular like shows and movies? It's all dystopian, world breaking down,
You're not
chaos
wrong.
ensuing,
It's
fighting
exciting.
to survive. Yeah, it's like this like primal like you're gonna every day you're just trying to get through the day and live and blah blah blah. It's so many things are like that. I mean,
It
You're
kind of
wrong.
enforces like a strict narrative on your life. Like I was talking about on a couple weeks ago about the religion one, where I was like, when you have like a storyline running, it's not hard to get through the day. You have a purpose then, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're dealing with now is no purpose.
Yeah,
I think an end time suggests an immediate purpose again. I have to survive, right?
yeah.
What am I going to eat next?
well, it realigns all your priorities.
Who's
It's
coming to
very,
kill
very,
me?
Very straightforward what it is you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah,
you
you're
know, it's-
crafting tweets. I get it.
Yeah. Where now it's like, oh man, I got no content to post.
We have interesting struggle now.
Yeah. Oh, what kind of caption am I gonna put on this picture? Like just shit like that. That's the struggle for a lot of people who are not us necessarily, but young people are living more online, right? And doing all that kind of stuff now, engaging in social media more than real life. But if you had an end times in the physical realm, like all of a sudden you have to worry about where you're going to get your next meal. It just changes your priorities.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, it's that. What was it? I think it was Gandhi who said like, no food, one problem. Lots of food,
Yeah.
many problems.
Yeah, we have too much food.
Yeah.
Any kind of
Well, I don't know if too much food is the issue, but I think it's people are generally like so comfortable now that we're finding all sorts of other strange things to get upset about, and fight about, and
Oh yeah, more and more.
once upon a time it was it's like you worried about what you're going to eat and whether somebody from some neighboring peoples show up and decide that they're taking your land and your whatever and they murder you, and we don't worry about that so much, at least over here. I mean, there's chunks of the world that still live that way, probably more chunks of the world than don't, but
Yeah.
We can't
over
get on
here,
that
we don't-
level.
Yeah, we're worried about like what people are saying about you online and like whether they screwed up your order at the McDonald's or whatever, it's like
Oh, I wanted 2 Big Macs.
not a double Big Mac. I
Yeah.
wanted 2 separate Big
I
Macs.
said 2.
well, yeah, I mean it's
I
just-
was very
yeah.
clear.
Yeah, it's not
want the
life and
fresh
death
fries.
struggles. It's just frivolous bullshit. So.
But the,
Yeah.
the thing that's weird about it is like with the way our brains are wired, we do deal with all the frivolity in the same systems in our brains that would deal with those situations.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I find really like a struggle for us right now is like we have this wiring that's based around all that old stuff, all that old survival stuff. And then now we're engaging in things that have no consequence similar to what we would have been engaging in, but we respond with the same brain that would have responded to those.
Well, they say that's why we've got such rampant anxiety and
Makes
depression.
Yeah,
and
well,
things
we
like
don't
that.
have actual problems to
Yeah.
face, and so then it's like
Well,
this
but
energy
that wording
we would,
is wrong, right? That wording is technically wrong. They might not be like right. They
Yeah.
might not be
They've still
real.
got problems.
problems.
No,
yeah,
it's
air
just
quotes.
engaging your brain in the same way as a real problem, right?
So
it's
you have,
like,
but you have a lot more energy to deal with that than we have a reason to use.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that anxiety would come from, right?
It's
And
the
you don't
level of what the problems are, right? The generally they're smaller now as far as like whether it's going to kill you immediately or whatever. So it's not as immediate. It's not as big of a threat. So it's, but yeah, you're like you said, you're still wired to actually want to.
The thing that I wonder though,
it like it is,
because like those types of problems that you'd be dealing with, you'd have to walk out physically, right? So it's like, oh, there was a storm that came in and destroyed my crops. I've got to do whatever, salvage them, or oh, like someone stole my sheep. I got to go get my sheep back, like, or I've got to go hunt a coyote that's killing my chickens, or whatever it is that you have to go do. But like the anxiety survival mechanism, then you would have to execute out something physically to deal with the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now
I mean, there's
it's
still
like,
a mental component to that because you have to develop whatever the plan it is to go get
yeah.
your sheep
We were
back
talking
and how
to
you're going to do it.
Jesse here a few weeks ago, and he said, "Would you rather fight? What was it? A trained orangutan or a chicken
do you
at
want,
your car?"
Well, it was like, do you want to fight a trained orangutan once a year?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
have to kill a chicken
So
once a day every time you go? Well,
here's
every
the
time you go to
thing.
your car or something like that.
If I had to fight the chicken every day, I think that's a release of some of that energy.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm just fighting that orangutan once a year, it's still building up.
Yeah, you got anxiety that whole year while
Yeah,
you build up to
exactly.
the orangutan
Yeah,
fight.
but
You
at
think
the
it would
same
be
time, then
better
you
if
got
we-
anxiety every day getting up to whether that chicken's going to claw your eyes out today or not.
Yeah, but think about how good you're going to get at dealing with that chicken eventually.
Yeah, except the way you guys prosed it to me the other day is that the chicken keeps reincarnating and gets smarter every
Yeah,
time.
we were talking
Yeah,
about
it's
this. The
eventually
chicken
it's-
learn you too, right?
It's a
the
Valhalla
chicken is
situation,
smart
yeah.
as you, so I mean,
For sure.
that's going to get ridiculous
But then
after a while.
it's
2 years of
gamifying
that.
it a little bit too. And as we know, whenever you gamify things, you learn better, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You get more invested in it as time goes on. I'm really going to give that chicken what for today.
Yeah.
He'll never see me coming.
Yes, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like I don't want to spend that kind of energy mentally and physically murdering a chicken every time I want to turn my car
honest,
on.
I kind of feel like I do that anyway now.
What do you do?
I feel like I fight a feral chicken every week pretty well.
In
right?
what capacity?
Well, in the capacity of like we were talking about like bringing that conflict on you, or like when I get tattooed once a week. Remember you said it just gives someone you're going to be in pain for 2 to 4 hours every week.
Yeah.
Just give them that as a reality for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
For essentially.
Yep.
That's what it's been for me for 10 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like people suffer ever anymore.
No.
Like not voluntarily.
Well, I
do
would
everything.
argue what you're talking about is the same thing people get out of exercise, right?
That I was gonna say,
Extreme
there's
hardcore
other ways to
exercise.
do it.
So it's people still do it. People still find things.
Yeah, but it's rare.
But it's more rare, I guess. But it's not that it's not.
a lot of
thing.
people
It's-
when they exercise, they do it at a pace that doesn't make them suffer. And
Well,
it's like,
true.
well, I don't want it to be too painful.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do. I do enough that I'm not getting bigger, and I might even be getting a little fitter, but I'm not getting any bigger. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, getting bigger is
That's
like
a tough.
that's a whole other thing. Like
That's
I
like a
mean,
sport.
Like as somebody who's been at this type of thing now for God, probably coming up on 8 years, and I've gone like up and down. Like I've been way bigger than this. I've been a little smaller than this. I'm gonna get smaller than this in a few weeks when I go in for that surgery. Just like last year, like, dropped everything I had and then had to build it back up. I mean, it's just a matter of like consistency is all that is. Like realistically, like if you want to do it, all you have to do, just keep being consistent and you'll get
I'm
little incremental.
incredibly consistent.
Yeah,
I
well-
just, as I said to Jesse, it would be nice to see a little more progress sometimes because I work out 6 days a week.
Well, but like think about that, right? Like progress would be change. So if you're not changing your routine, you're not going to see change.
Yeah, I'm not unhappy with how I look physically necessarily, like the shape I'm in. It's just kind of like I'm doing it more for mental reasons, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Like I think I'd probably feel worse if I didn't do it.
Probably why you're getting tattooed too.
It definitely is. It's definitely
Yeah, it's probably the same.
calmed me down.
Same thing. Yeah.
I used to be way more like down in the dumps, depressed, and like whatever before all of that. But
Yeah, like I mean, not that I'm gonna get a blackout of my body, but every time I do, like every time I'm down, it does make me want to feel like getting tattooed. Just as like it goes with it. It seems like that would really help. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, it's not just it's helped me in ways that I would have never expected. because it slowed down my thoughts too. Like, not just during, but like overall, because you'll get into a really horrible session, right? Like I've talked about with the finger ones, where you're on almost like another plane, where you're just like, now it's just about, I'm not getting away from this, so I have to go inside and just be there. Like when I'm getting my fingers blacked out is what I'm talking about. Some parts of that are to the point of, like, it's like pain overload, right? And it forces sort of like a meditative sort of state.
It's
And
called
it might
the nail
not.
beds.
What's that?
It's called the fingernail beds.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some other places that are bad for that too, but
I mean, as somebody who's actually never been tattooed here on this tattoo
That's the
show,
weirdest thing about like the dichotomy of you two. It's like
yeah, but
you're
it, like
just so
it might be weird for people looking in, but I don't really think about like people. Like you could have one tattoo, you could have more tattoos than me, and I don't really even think about it much. As hard as that is to imagine.
no. That's like because you don't think you have a lot of tattoos.
No, I
Mentally,
still,
you know what I mean?
still just see myself as like kind of a young at this.
Yeah, I do too. I always forget that I technically have a lot of tattoos, but I don't in my mind.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably the way you should think if you actually enjoy what you're doing, right? Because if you're doing something to think I'm the best at this, then you're probably never going to be.
well, I mean, yeah. I mean, how are you?
That's
gonna,
like a finish line thing.
I was going to say, how are you going to be the best at getting?
No,
tattooed?
well,
you
I
know what I
mean-
mean? Like, what's like?
No,
what,
I'm not
how do you
saying- I'm
judge
not
that?
saying
Like,
I'm the
how
one-
much pain can you take? How much work can you get done?
Well, you
That's
can
how
get
people
into it.
phrase
have?
it. That's
sure.
a lot of how
Yeah.
people look at it. They're like, "Oh my God, he must not feel pain. Oh my God, this thing, that."
or they
thing."
think you're
It's
a
like-
sadist.
or that, or I hate myself, or any of these. There's all kinds of different things people
with
assign.
pain, though, I mean, like going back to the pain thing, it's like that's like what you can handle for pain is just based on how much pain you've experienced, right? And how long you've experienced it for. It's like anything else. You get accustomed to it, and you start to get whatever your threshold was will increase over time. Like I was gonna say, like I don't know about the pain of getting tattooed per se, but I know last year when I was in the hospital for my appendix and then everything that happened after, that was the worst pain I've ever felt, and it just went on endlessly for like almost a full week straight. Like it just didn't stop. Right? It didn't matter what drugs they gave me. It didn't matter. Like
Now,
almost nothing helped it. So you get to a point where mentally it's just like your brain does something else eventually where you just it's still happening and you still feel it and it's still not enjoyable in any way, but like it gets more bearable over time.
oh, for sure.
Although after a while something else happens where you start to get worn down from that because it just doesn't stop. So I guess there's maybe a tipping point there, but
There's also a difference in suffering through something that you're not getting anything for versus something you're getting something for.
well, I mean, yes. I mean, in my case, it was like it actually did start to become something where it's like, oh man, like what's going to happen to me here? So it became more of a like a, I'm just trying to get through this like at a more, as we were talking about earlier, at a more like primal, primitive, like
Survival.
yeah, like other things didn't matter anymore, right? They just fucking didn't because it's like I'm in here, I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, I'm in constant nonstop pain. When's it gonna end? There was no like, oh, after this date you'll be out of here. It was just like, oh, well, when you're better you can leave. It's like, well, okay, well, how long is that gonna take? As long as it takes.
So,
so
that's a good sample of what I'm trying to say, right? You had some immediacy, right?
Yeah, oh,
it
I mean, it
forced you into this narrative. I might not live.
Yeah, and it really clears your mind too. Like when I got out of there, like I remember walking outside and breathing the air just outside of the hospital for the first time, and I almost cried because it was just so like, I hadn't spent a lot of time in the hospital before, but I'd been in there. I was in there for a week, and it was like that was enough that like getting out of there and just experiencing what it was like to not be stuck in a hospital bed was like. It was almost overwhelming, and the appreciation I had for that, and then when I got home, I don't love the place I'm living in. I've made that clear.
It never looked better.
But it never looked better.
Yeah.
It was just like my shitty little trailer was a palace when I got home. You know what I mean? I had a yard. I remember just standing outside in my little matchbook square of a yard in the back, and just like the sunlight being there, and just being like so grateful all of a sudden. It was like this realignment of like all the bullshit in my life was just none of that mattered anymore. My priorities were all shifted. All I cared about was my daughter. All I cared about was the fact that I had the freedom to be out of that hospital, that I had some modicum of health again, and I knew I was going to get better. Now that eventually wears away as life gets back to normal and starts grinding you down. But the difference in my head for a while, and the appreciation I had for small things, and the disconcern I had for like all the daily, weekly bullshit, the stuff you see on TV, the stuff that people are bitching and complaining about and going on. It was like none of that seemed to matter for a while.
Don't you think we should have more of that in our life?
Yes, but I mean, to get there, I wouldn't want to do that every, you know.
So,
if I had to live like that all the time to get that clarity, I mean, that in and of itself would be.
I'm not saying that what I'm doing is doing that. What I'm saying is what I'm doing may be some subconscious attempt at that.
I think what you're doing is somewhere more like it's an attempt at that, but it's probably more in the line of what people are doing when they're exercising all the time and getting really into. Like, I'd say yours maybe a step up from that as far as like immediate like.
Oh, I'm not flattering myself.
No, but I'm just saying it's like on that scale of things, I would say like the exercise is probably a little lower than getting a whole bodysuit and blacking it out. But maybe not as bad as going in for invasive surgeries and, you know, wondering if you're going to live.
I think that there's some I've talked about a lot on podcasts already, so I'll just touch it up briefly. But like there was definitely at the beginning of when I started really, really getting into tattooing, there was a lot of time I was making up for, and I felt like I had a lot of ideas just in order to get the tattoos. They were just there holding places. Like I would get those tattoos no matter what they were. And I think that there was like some catharsis happening there, especially at the beginning, and it's still happening, but not to the same extent, where it was almost like I need this pain to heal whatever the fuck happened earlier in my life. And I think people do that in different ways.
Well, that's like people cutting and people
I always said if I didn't get into piercing when I was young, I would have cut the shit out of my arm. Because I got into you know how early I got into piercing.
Yeah.
I got my first facial piercing when I was 12. Yeah. So it started really, really early for me. And it was always something. Yeah. It just kept going, right? And now it's like it's slowing down a little bit, but I don't know if I'll ever
running out of room.
Well, but now I've started all over again.
What else are you gonna do? You're gonna run out of skin.
I've started all over again.
Well, I know, but I mean, you can only put so many piercings through you before you run out of room. Where else are you gonna
now
pierce?
We're doing.
You could be doing dermals. Then you got all the body you want.
Oh, I guess.
Now it's all about tattooing.
Yeah, get some horns implanted and screw them in every morning. And
come on,
whatever you want to do.
Don't say there's limits to this.
Well, I guess there isn't.
There are no limits.
Jesus,
but like that's not necessarily.
You get into suspension after that if you really wanted to.
I think people have different ways of approaching it, though, right? So some people might go that road. I'm on the road that I'm on with it. I'm going to continue the way I am, but I think that if I had to psychologize it, because I've psychologized why I do the shit that I do many times throughout the years, and I've come up with all kinds of different answers. But the one that I always think is that I'm trying to get somewhere close to the feeling you just described about how everything looked better for a minute after.
Well,
I have a period of my life, I've told Kevin about this recently, after I get tattooed every week, where I go home and I basically just sit and exist for like 2-3 hours uninterrupted. I don't use my phone. I don't do anything. I'm just happy. There's nothing else going on. It's the only time in my life that I take time to just sit. Well, and I just appreciate everything more.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's like an elation.
That place. I think initially though, like what got you into it is the same thing that like I took a different road.
No, I know you.
And
did.
I know we both like. This all stems from how we grew up.
Neither one of us said it easy.
Right? So, I mean, because, like, Mom was a lot cooler with you doing the piercings. She wouldn't even let me dye my hair at the time. So, I didn't get into that. I got into drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And, you know, the rock and roll world.
And I was going to say, and music, too.
I mean, music was, like, the first thing. That was my escapism for that. That was my whatever. But I mean, that led very quickly into mind-altering substances of whatever kind. And I went hard into that. Now,
Yeah.
you didn't go that road, but you started doing things to your body physically.
Yeah.
I started doing things to my brain because I wanted something different I wanted to feel different than I was. I wasn't happy with that. Like I said, you did it in an external way. I was doing it.
It was hitting you. It was hitting you physically too.
Oh, I mean, yes, it was, but I mean, like, it wasn't like I wasn't changing myself per se in that. Like, it was like
different.
I was trying to impact my brain.
It's
and
different,
go,
but it's
yeah.
not different, right? Like you're technically ingesting poisons.
Yeah.
To alter, yes, you're altering your consciousness, but your biology, your chemistry that's going on in you is still self-harm.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
You
it's
could
stemming
call
from the
either
same
thing
place.
self-harm.
Well,
but
they both are. Like your physical body is being harmed, and you have to recover from it.
Yeah.
Right. Like both are happening. It's just you're happening either like this tactile external thing, or you're kind of destroying your insides, and your body has to recover from it every time. But it's the same habit of like the destroying of self through whatever way you're wanting to express it, right? Like people get different vices to express their different things, but the idea
You're
of
flirting with destruction. I wouldn't say you're destroying necessarily.
So if you do it enough consistently,
Yeah, well,
you would die.
Yeah, if you do it for
Well, yeah.
With
And
no
so you're just
limitation.
toeing the water, right?
yeah,
like you're not trying
that's
to.
what I'm trying to
I mean,
say.
I would argue what I got into is probably going to take you closer to the edge than what you got into, or at least have the potential of. Because I mean, look at what happens to
if
people
you
getting
find a
addicted
good-
to this or that and destroying their lives.
if you
right?
find
I mean,
a responsible
alcoholic or
outlet for
whatever.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
So like if I had have just gone and done things to myself, or like just started hacking myself apart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
But
obviously,
I guess what I'm saying is you're not going to be like on the street,
No.
selling your body so you can come in and
Get
get
another
a little
piercing.
bit,
Which is
get
funny
another
because
piercing. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I know, and that's
Like-
funny because there are people who think that way of
Yeah.
people with tattoos and piercings.
Well, because they think you don't have a job for some reason.
they
Yeah.
think I'm an addict,
But-
and I
but
don't
that's
have a
what
job.
I'm
Obviously,
saying,
this
right?
homeless
It's
guy
not-
with thousands of hours of tattooing.
yeah, it's not like you get addicted to crack, when you're out on the street, like, and you got to get another hit. However, you can get another hit. Like it's. So yeah, I think there was.
You know what I want to mention though is something that always bothered me when I was young that happened was like when we knew you were doing that lifestyle. Mom made us. She raised us to think that was bad.
Yeah,
but prescription
raised me to
medication-
think it was bad. Yeah.
But prescription medications were cool. She
Yeah.
had me on
'Cause
prescriptions
doctors.
until I was 18.
Doctors.
Well, I know,
everybody.
But I grew up thinking Dave was like a scumbag a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and it forced. We almost got into a couple fights when we were older over it, and it always pissed
even
me
remember
off.
now.
Well, no, like it's not important.
Probably because you're on all the drugs.
But
And
what
alcohol.
I'm getting at is like
I don't remember much in that.
I don't fucking
she
remember.
was hard on that stuff, and it
Oh, yeah.
made us think that way. And it took me until I was like 20, 22 to kind of go, oh, that's not actually how that is.
Well, that's. I was just saying, like, she was hard on me about the whole, like, anything about getting piercings or dyeing your hair or doing anything of the like. So it was a different time too. You got to remember, like, back then, like we've come a long way on this whole war on drugs thing and the public perception of it.
Yeah.
Things were still a lot harsher in the 90s about that. That was also the rise of pharmaceutical companies pushing antidepressants and things like that to doctors specifically to push to everyone. Because back in those days, like I remember, because I was on the same shit for a while, like you go into a doctor's office because you had whatever. And
Yeah.
like it didn't matter what you're in there for. The doctor had like a thing of like sample packs for probably 2 or 3 different types of antidepressants, whether that's Celexa or whoever. Like it
Yeah,
was
I
just
did
there
all of
in little
those.
plastic bag. Oh, here, like here, take-
Wellbutrin, Celexa.
whatever it was. It's just like here's a handful of this shit. Take it and see what happens, and then we'll write you a prescription for it. And it was just like boom, 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 just like they did with the opioids now and over
Yeah.
the last few years, where it's just like walk in. You you stubbed your toe, whatever the hell it is. Here's a prescription for oxys. Like, fucking here, take them. Like, let's just, that was what was going on back in those days. So that was just like, you couldn't avoid it. Like, you go to any doctor, they just had that shit. It was give it to everybody. Everybody needs it all of a sudden because that's what was getting pushed from pharmaceutical companies. I mean, this game is as old as time now. Like I said, whole opioid thing is just that again, but something that's even more dangerous and destructive. So, yeah, I mean, I look back on those days now and go, oh, okay. I mean, for all the information that was out there and what was being pushed to everybody, the internet wasn't
A thing?
well, I mean,
Kind
it
of was.
It was, but it was still like it was limited, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you weren't just going to go on there and like research and find all this stuff about
I don't think we knew how to use it either.
No.
Like people wouldn't even think
yeah
to do that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think to be like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
start researching what what these drugs are
Now
actually
it's
doing
like,
to
oh,
people.
we can
and
get
blah
any
blah
answer
blah.
The internet
online.
wasn't a serious place back then. You know what I mean? It was
No,
just like,
it wasn't taken seriously.
Yeah,
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, I mean, there was a segment of society obviously that always did, but
yeah,
I mean,
but it was
generally
still like
it was
a doctor's going to know more than.
Oh,
what you read on the
100%,
internet was the
100%.
mentality.
Now it's almost like you're just skeptical of anything you
Man,
hear.
seriously.
well because you can go on
Yeah.
there and learn and teach
You can
yourself
find
almost anything
any answer
if
to
you're
any question in the direction that you want it to be. which
That's
is really
the
weird.
problem is that
Well-
there's no actual objective facts
No.
anymore.
Yes, but for somebody who like from me as an example, like I've been like reteaching myself different instruments and different things recently, and it's all just like YouTube videos and finding things on the internet, and it's like learning to program drums better,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is. It's just you go on, you watch a bunch of videos. Oh, I get it now. It's like this would have taken at best like months of like contacting individuals and getting their opinions on things
And
and
so much
Networking,
money.
it's
and
been
so
great
much
for
money,
networking.
and you would have had to gone to school for whatever it was and take a class. Oh, there's a year or two, and
Think
you gotta
about
pay
what you
tens
are
of thousands
doing
of
like
dollars.
every day recording songs. It's like you would have to pay every player.
Yep.
You would have to rent a studio at
Yep.
between $200 and $800 an hour.
Yep.
And like just the bills would rack up.
Oh,
Just
it was
the barrier
just,
to entry
you
is
couldn't do
insane.
it. Couldn't do it before. I mean, technology has changed. The way information is disseminated has changed.
Yeah.
The way you can disseminate information or whatever it is you're doing has changed. It's so much easier now in some ways than it ever was before, despite what people might say about certain industries, the music business being one.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people. I thought that it's like, oh, the best days are behind us. Music is all
You can
falling
either think
apart
that
now,
way and get left behind, or you can.
well,
you
then
know,
I started researching it was
Yeah.
the thing, and it's like, wait a minute, yeah, for the big dogs who have been, getting their fill now for years, and yeah, they're taking a bit of a hit. I mean, except Beyonce's not, but like
She already made her money though.
people at the very top, very 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 top, they're still doing pretty well. The people underneath of that and down into the middle have taken a massive hit, but people down below that at like the level that I'm at, the just getting started out, like trying to do something with it. I thought like, without labels being around the way they were, without having the power they had, without more, for lack of a better term, single source media things like, Much Music, MTV, radio stations, things where it's like very, everybody listens to it. I thought, you can't have success anymore. There's just no money in it. Everyone says, oh, the money's gone. There's no money in streaming and this and that. And it's like, to some degree, it's true. But the flip side to that is you can, if you are so inclined, you can do all of this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do things that weren't even possible for you to do even 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of promoting yourself online and just like distributing digitally your content, your whatever. So easy now. A guy can do this I'm doing this sitting in my living room. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Cranking out songs,
So,
writing stuff and doing what
internet and social
do
media
so much.
in general have given every single person some avenue to start somewhere, right? Where before it was almost like I gotta get real lucky.
You had
Now
to go
it's
through
like,
gatekeepers is what
Yeah,
it was. There was
yeah.
always it's now more and more if you know what you're looking for and you can, there's a lot of work involved in it, but you can remove almost all of the gatekeepers and the people you had to go through before you could even consider having any modicum of success, because you wouldn't have access to being able to promote and advertise your music or your art or whatever without getting these certain individuals on board. Like, you know what I mean? You weren't going to get your songs on radio just by calling up every radio station. You're not going to get a video played on MTV just by calling them up and say, oh, we've got a video. We'd like to get that on rotation. Who are you? Get off my phone. Like, now, though, it's like, well, I'll set up my own YouTube channel. I'll set up my own website. I'll set up my own merch store. I'll do all of this. Do it all myself. Nowadays, it's in such a, you don't even have to hold on to the inventory, so you don't have to have. It's not like back in the day. Oh, you're gonna press records. You know what I mean? You're gonna pour the vinyl and
there are some limitations, but it is more open.
Way
so
more.
You still have to fight with algorithms and shit to get view.
But again, I look at that and I go, I think that's an easier fight to have than to try to convince some jaded old record industry guy who doesn't care, just wants to make some money, looking for a surefire hit.
It's the same mechanism, though, right?
It's the same mechanism, but that might be like you're dealing with maybe he doesn't like you. You're dealing with maybe he doesn't like your sound. Or the algorithm,
or maybe he does. He just doesn't want to take a chance on it because they want to make the
just going to be looking
thing,
at numbers.
Right?
Well, like anytime you're putting somebody that's entirely focused on the fiscal aspect, and it's their own fiscal aspect rather than yours, that would be a barrier, right? So one of the things that was like with all these kind of digital platforms, they all start off the same thing, which is like one could argue pure capitalism, where it's like you have no barriers, put whatever you want up. There's going to be nothing to technically advocate for you or to detract from you other than what the public sees. So as the public interacts with you, your exposure will grow because of the public. And then that would be like the purest form of all of these things. And when they start out, it's like MySpace did that. Even when it was Napster, it was like Napster helped Dashboard Confessional become popular because it was just like so many people saw his stuff, passed it around, duplicated it, and then all of a sudden he was big because there was just this pure capitalism. It was just people. There was no one being able to set a barrier in to make extra money. And then as companies get bigger, and like as you see with Instagram and YouTube, and it's like now all of a sudden we're taking what is happening naturally in this capitalistic range, and we're trying to profit for ourselves off of what is happening in this kind of like sphere. And that's what the idea of a record exec or management, or you have to go through these through lines because we're trying to put up all these middlemen blockades to make extra money along the way off of whatever's going to happen naturally here.
I mean, they're trying to make money. I mean, and I get there's it's not necessarily all just about them. There was a certain level of, well, you can't just put out a record from any Joe Blow who shows up. Like, I mean, you can't sing, you can't play. We're going to put your record out anyway and promote it like, all over the world. Well, no. You want to have it was, I think the idea originally, I mean, they wanted to make money, but they also wanted to establish a certain level of quality for whatever you're
if it's going to be on my brand.
If it's on my label, well, I don't want to have a bunch of crap and a bunch of garbage out there that's unlistenable that no one's going to buy. I want to have good quality artists. And I think once upon a time, there was probably more emphasis on that side of it. Like, well, if you put out good music and you have good artists, you'll make money from it. I think now
that same idea is still prevalent on all forms of social media.
Yeah, agreed.
Like they only want certain types of content and they push it to the moon. So like there is a specific type of reel video that you will see on Explore over and over again. And you can make a reel in your own style that might not meet that, it might be the same quality, it might be really high quality, but if it's not what they're looking for, it might not ever hit the Explore
But you know
page.
what, though? To me, like the more I learn about the new digital world, like this sort of stuff, like, because I'm fairly new to this. I was never a social media guy.
I've only really been for the last 5 or 6 years myself.
But what I'm learning about, it's not that different than what the old game was. Realistically, at the end of the day, it's a different mechanism. It's a different format, but it's the same.
You're just not dealing with humans as much anymore. You're dealing with an algorithm, right? And that algorithm is figuring out better what people like than what a human would.
But what I'm getting at with that is the algorithm. It's sort of like I was putting everything back to music here because that's just where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
but
no, you can come from music. It's
sure.
fine.
But like the idea, like that algorithm, like it's basically like the same idea of, okay, we're going to try to write something that's a little more accessible, you know. We're going to put out the first album that's not going to be, let's say you're a metal band. Well, maybe we're not going to go full like as. We're not going to do exactly what we want right off because we know that's not going to get us through the gatekeepers that used to be, right? It's not going to impress the A&R rep. We got to have a single in there. You got to have something. That's the whole idea of the power ballad or the whatever. You got to have something that maybe that's not our thing. You know, how many bands put out songs where they're like, yeah, you know, like it's kind of cheesy. We don't really care about that, but it's their biggest hit. Right?
Yeah.
You do it for a reason. It's because you know, okay, to get through this gatekeeper, this algorithm, like so that I could. It's the idea. You got to start out playing the game by the rules so that you can get into it. And then once you get to a certain level, though, that's when you can start to.
Or
you
you get stuck in
what you're doing.
Or you get stuck in.
But I mean, and that separates the wheat from the chaff. There, of the people that are truly creative, or the people that, or the people that are just trying to make a quick buck or try to get something.
Have to stay relevant,
right? They're going to go to the wayside. But the people that are really creative and the people that are really artistic and the people that are doing it for not just to make a buck off of it are the guys that are probably going to be the ones that are going to innovate, that are going to keep going, that are going to take whatever the you got to learn the rules before you break the rules, right? In most instances, so they're going to be the guys that are going to figure out how to play the game to get to a certain level, and then you see those people. The ones that the real stars, they're the ones who figure out how to change that and how to adjust and shift and then turn it into what they really want to do. Well, and then can make things conform around them, and then and some people, in fact, change the whole game, and then things, the algorithms, the whatever people are looking for, changes based on the fact that they got to a certain level, changed what that landscape is because they did something new and revolutionary or whatever. People go, wow, that's crazy. I want to get on this. I want to do the same thing.
I think there's another way to look at this too, is that you can play that game for quite a long time until you're at a size that you're comfortable with staying at, and then you just need to feed your base. So like what I'm getting at is like, if I have 160,000 followers on my Instagram, how much bigger do I really care to be? Like, that's fairly large. Yeah. What I would rather have now is not a bigger number, but a better support among that number.
Well, so it's like building a community, right?
And
like a real community, not just faceless. It's the whole idea of why it's like they say, again, in the music world, there are people that will pay to have, bought services or whatever.
Well, we were
like boost
that's
the
not
perceived
the best
plays and whatever, but it's not going to help you at the end of the day because it's not like real.
Right.
You are better off having real fans, real followers.
I talk about this all the time.
Have some sort of personal investment in what you're doing. They want to see you succeed, and therefore they're willing to go with you on that journey.
You want a quality of following, not just a large number.
Having 1 million followers or 1 million streams or 1 million whatever, if 90% of them are bots.
Yeah.
All you're doing is like you got inflated numbers, but what are you going to do with that?
Well, if only 10 people are going to like your posts, what's the chance that any of those 10 people are going to buy anything you're selling?
Yeah. Right? I mean, if that's your goal to monetize something, what are you going to sell to a bot? So really
exactly.
like that doesn't so to an extent, I get it. Like you got to have a certain number of people, you got to have a certain number of followers, fans, whatever you want to call them. But the quality of them, I think, makes more of a difference nowadays than it did.
But in order to get that following to begin with, you do have to play it first.
You got to play with the game. You got to play the game to a certain degree, right? You got to give people something that they're enough to get them, give them a little taste of something that's palatable enough for them to get into what you're doing, and then you can expose them to more of what you really want to do. Again, it's the whole idea of you put out the catchy single so somebody will listen to your album and hear some more of your maybe more obscure style stuff that you're really more actually passionate about, but wouldn't really be a good way to reel people in. But they might be more willing to give that a chance once they've kind of, I got this song that I really like this one, so I'll check out the rest. I'm willing to give it a shot now because you gave me that thing that's not so far out of it's not so alien to me that I can't relate to it. But then, you know what I mean? Like, you can get into a little more.
You got to think about it like you're almost an influencer now, and you're building your own brand, right?
Well, and nowadays I think anybody that's doing anything,
Yeah.
building any business, any brand,
And
any
that's why I
whatever
don't
you
like
are,
I don't
right?
like the term influencer. I think it's too broad. I
No.
think it's a bad word for something that we're just not understanding properly yet. This is just the new way of
It's all marketing.
It's
This
yeah,
is
it's
all,
the new way
this
of
is all
marketing
old
anything.
school marketing, just repackaged
Yeah,
in a
but
new
when you
digital
say
format. right?
influencer, it's a dirty word.
Sure.
It
Well,
sounds
okay,
like you're
Let me just challenge this slightly.
Sure.
Because I'm looking at it from a slightly different angle.
yeah, I could see that.
So
I could tell.
That's when Kevin gets quiet.
yeah,
there's a difference between being like an originator and someone who copies. So when I say laptop, what do you think?
yeah.
What's the first word that comes to
Sitting
mind?
on my lap, I got a computer.
You're
right?
thinking like brand wise. I mean, nowadays
Dell?
it's probably more like a
don't know.
MacBook or something.
Okay,
Right?
so
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind would be a MacBook.
Sure.
What's the Microsoft competitor called?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
Holy
they have
shit.
too many names.
Okay, so great. I believe it's called a PowerBook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're trying to be a MacBook,
Yeah.
which means they're not the originator.
Yeah.
How well is it going for them comparatively?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, no
Our-
name
our
Well,
brain-
it's
recognition,
like
obviously.
anytime you could like it, even if you're not the
But they're,
originator.
but
I
they're
mean,
doing what you're talking about. They're
Yeah.
releasing a single that's palatable.
Yeah.
They're putting all the
Yeah.
language that's around it from the other one to try and make it so that you think of this other one while you're purchasing theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And even their styling is done in a way that mimics the actual originator.
Yep.
So I kind of look at it as in terms of like, you might get a few people in terms of copying. You might be able to take it to a place where it's like, I'm giving somebody something digestible that they already know, and then hopefully they'll look into me more and continue on. But what is really going to happen is it's going to be like, hey, if I'm giving you this single that sounds like this guy, they'll go, oh, cool, that sounds like this guy. I'm going to go keep listening to this guy
Yeah.
because that's actually what I like.
I think that's
And
where
that's
you
where-
have to be a little distinct.
Yes,
right? You
that's
gotta
what I'm
have
saying. Like,
something a
yeah,
little bit
if they don't
original.
have anything that's innovative, if they don't have anything that would be
And
I
I
would
see
consider
this
genuine.
all the time, by the way. I see so many influencers that look like other influencers,
Yeah.
and I can't even tell them apart.
Yes.
Part of why my character has been successful is because I don't know anyone else that looks like me.
No.
I can't tell you of another EphemeralRemy.
Yeah.
I know some guys with blackout tattoos, but that's not all that's in that.
Yeah, that's all encompassing.
It's not, everything that I have is setting me apart in some way.
Yeah, like you have to still have something of your like. Now, I'm not advocating for just carbon copy, whatever. I'm just saying, to a certain degree, if you come out of nowhere and give people something that's so alien and different to them that they can't make sense of it, whatever that thing is, even if it's amazingly good, it's going to take them a lot longer to be able to process and digest
It
that.
becomes enigmatic, though.
right.
But again, you're talking about things that are going to, and I would always argue in terms of timeline. That time isn't necessarily the thing that matters on it. Like if you want to make something and have it strike a chord and just be like instantaneous success, you're never going to catch that.
No.
So
I guess
it would be like I would
calling it
rather
more like
focus
a-
on the idea of like whatever the genuine is and let it take 10 years as opposed to I'm going to do
Do
this
it as a
thing.
labor of love.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
or just because it is the thing that you're supposed to kind of do. Hey,
Like
Terry,
there-
would you mind grabbing the door?
Like there has to be something genuine about what you're doing, or else you're just like I said. If it comes solely from a place of
I want to make money.
I want to make money. People are going to see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be transparent eventually, right? Like you can't hide that very long. It's right. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something that people actually want, some sort of something that is of quality, right? All I'm saying is it's like from the retail world of which I come from and will be going to shortly, I guess.
Yeah. As will you.
Right. Well,
In a
my
matter of sense.
retail world is very retail.
Yeah, no.
I'm looking at this more of the idea of like, it's not a perfect example, but the idea of the lost leader, right? It's how you get people in the door. Once you get them in the door, for me, if you can get somebody in the door, then you can sell them on other stuff because they're there. right? They're already there. They're checking you out. They're looking at what you're doing. They already have some modicum of interest at least, or they wouldn't be there to begin with.
But you can
Then
lose them while they're
oh,
there.
you can
too.
lose them, but it's on you not to, right?
Yeah.
And this is the difference between people who are going to do well at this stuff and people who aren't. You have to be able to figure out how to, once you get them there, you have to have something that's going to keep them there, right? So
a sustainably decent product.
a decent product, because if you're selling garbage, it doesn't matter. You'll get people and they'll look and then they're going to go away. But if you're not selling garbage, if you really are doing something of value and you can get those people to look at it, that's one of the biggest things to start out with. Like, customer acquisition cost is far higher, to get a new customer than it is to maintain repeat business once you have them in there.
You see
that's
that even
proven. That's
even in this shop.
Oh yeah.
right. That's just like saying you throw a rock in the air and it's going to land on the ground, right? Like that's just gravity. That's just how the world works. That's just how human psychology is with this stuff. So what I'm saying with this, and again, whether it's music, whether it's influencing, whether it's whatever, you got to get them in somehow. And generally speaking, you got to sweeten the bait a little bit at first until you have some sort of reputation or some sort of something going
You
for
need
you.
some depth.
So, but there has to be, like I said, there has to be something. It can't just be just can't be just that glossy stand-up cutout. There's got to be an actual thing behind that. There's got to be a person. There's got to be a whatever. There's got to be more to it. So yeah, a good product. But I'm just saying you use the right bait to get the fish going. Then it's up to you to get the damn fish in the boat still, right? Even if you have the best bait in the world, if you don't know how to reel the thing in and get it into the boat, the fish is going to get off the hook and go away. So it's still, the onus is on you as whatever it is you're doing, whatever you're trying to sell, whether it's yourself, whether it's a product, whether it's whatever. All I'm saying with that is that I think, coming back to the whole work in the algorithms and whatever, I think in my mind, the way to do it is figure out how to play the game a bit to get the ball rolling. And once you have a little bit of interaction, take that and then use that to funnel them to, here's what I'm really doing. Here's all the, this is what I consider my real quality thing that I really have a genuine passion for. And that's the other thing, too. People respond to passion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
More so than anything else is if you have a genuine passion for something, like people will watch. That's why people watch people do like review videos and things. You know what I mean? Like
We
who the
do
hell
some of that
cares?
here.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true, we do.
nobody would give a shit if it's just
Yeah.
like going, and then the cat jumped off the if you're like, and then the cat's blah blah blah, and like you're like getting into it. People are not watching because of like even the content so much at that point. They're watching because you're a personality.
Yeah,
and
they wanna know
you
what you
are
think
the
about the
product
thing.
at that point.
Yeah.
So depending on what it is you're doing, right? Like you can become the the medium is the message.
It's
as
like
the old
our
commercial would
React
say, right?
series. I probably had over 100, 150, 200 tattoos sent to the email for me to react to them. Because maybe even more than that. I don't even
Probably
know.
more.
We've done what? We've done 13 of these, and we could keep going to who knows what number already. And it's just me talking about a tattoo on the screen.
Yeah, and I would in like my mind, I'm guessing people aren't tuning into that because they specifically want to see. I really need to know what he thinks of this random fucking tattoo that was on the internet, wherever the hell that no one has ever seen before. I really got it. Like they want to see you
spend time with
talk
the
about
character.
the thing. That's why I watch all the guys that I watch. Yeah, sure. Like the content has something of interest to me, whether it's
It's
music,
on brand
art,
for you.
fitness, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's the personality. I'm tuning in because
there's
I like that guy.
There's 100 other guys doing the same
You
thing.
can find a million bodybuilders online talking about supplements, and working out, and whatever. It's like whatever. Who cares? But you want the guy who like. That guy,
You want your guy.
I laugh when that
Yeah.
guy's talking about this or that, or I get into it when he's like, there's something to it. Like it's the personality,
The cult
it's
of personality.
Cult of personality. It's building yourself up as you are the brand, right?
Some
So-
people can't do that. Some people have no idea
No.
how to become bigger than just like that photo or that song or whatever.
And I would argue those are the people that will fall to the wayside very quickly, even if they have an idea of how to bait the hook, so to speak. They're not going to be able to get the fish into the boat, right?
Which is why even like I've talked about it here, with your Instagram page and your Kevo tattooer. Like you want to inject some personality into it, like some of you. And I've seen you've been doing a little more of that lately. But I think people want to bond with the person, and Lee has become quite good at this.
Oh yeah, he's great at it.
Yeah, he wasn't at first, but he's hammered it down now.
Yeah, he really has.
Where he's mixing in parts of his life, and it's his numbers are going up.
There's something really to this, and again, like the whole music promotion and marketing thing. The thing that keeps getting stressed the most, like over and over from the people that are successful at it, that I keep hearing, is building relationships with your fans is far more important than anything else. If you communicate with them, if they have some sort of, you're not best friends per se, but they want to feel a personal connection. If you have a personal connection with someone, you want to, you're more inclined to want to see them succeed, and you're part of that journey with them now. You're not just an observer watching.
Well, it's like as they
someone
succeed,
from afar.
you succeed kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like I was watching something yesterday about this, where a couple guys were talking about the idea of how things have changed as far as people's role models and whatnot. Not
you get
so
a
long,
choice now.
Well, not so long ago, it was something like you'd watch like a movie star or something,
Yeah.
like and you'd idolize these guys. They're like, oh man, but they're like. I think the example they said is like, you can send The Rock a DM.
You're never
going to
getting
get
the
back to
message.
you about it? No,
And that's
never.
that's something I was
But-
going to say is whenever I respond to a DM or even sometimes comments, people will screenshot me replying to them. Like,
Right.
I can't believe Remy was.
Allie, can you grab the door?
I can't believe Remy responded to me like
That's
this thing.
the thing. Personal connection. They feel they're a part of it. And then all of it makes all the difference in the world. They say you're 50% more likely to actually support monetarily someone that you feel a personal connection. You want to see them do well. You want to be part of the journey. And that's the thing. So nowadays, it's like people are idolizing Instagram
But this is
people,
it.
YouTube. But the difference is you can connect with them. I can send you a DM. You'll respond to me. The Rock won't. The whoever won't. But and because of that, now you're seeing this shift where there's like this whole segment of the population that's moving more towards this independent media
Influencers
stuff.
are the modern day
one-on-one,
celebrity.
right?
Yeah.
You get to be a part of it. Everybody wants to be a part. At the end of the day, everybody wants to be rich and famous. They all want to be a part of the big party. They want to be at the cool table, so to speak. So the idea that you can have a little piece of that, you can get in there. Oh yeah, I'm following this guy, and I'm behind him 100%. I want to see him do well because he's better than these other guys that are doing the same thing. I really like his content. I really like this. Whatever it is, music doesn't matter. It's all the same. I want to see them do well, so I'm going to support them. It becomes part of that's my team. I'm on this team. I'm a fan. I'm part of the whatever army.
You're buying in.
You're buying in. It's part of
Yeah.
they're part of it. They're not just passive consumers observing and purchasing. It's like, no, I'm involved in it. Maybe if I talk to this guy about blah blah blah, he'll do a video about this thing that I want to see, right? Yeah, and you get to be a part of it. I've even thought of the idea of maybe throwing it out there once I actually get the music thing rolling here online. Stuff like, what type of song is there? A type of song you would like?
Oh yeah, whenever
like
the interaction
customizable
is good for those
stuff.
things.
Yeah,
People like to think they have a vote.
Exactly. If people think they have a vote or they legitimately do, they're far more likely to become personally invested and want to see that succeed and then follow through for a longer period of time with it. So that's where this is all going. And anybody who figures that out, I think, is going to do well. Like you said, Lee is figuring that out, right?
Yeah, he's definitely figuring it out.
And it makes sense, right? Everything that I've researched, everything that I've come across goes right back to that exact premise of talk to the people, don't make yourself be separate. You want to be in the crowd with them, not up on the pedestal.
Yeah, we're done with like the supporting the golden gods, we want to have them
we're getting past
relatable.
that point where it's like you're starting to see through that. It's the Wizard of Oz thing where it's like, well, these are just people at the end of the day, really. They're not any better than anybody else. They're not magical. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this movie star, this musician, or this influencer is any different than anybody else. They eat, sleep, breathe, do the same thing. Could be you there if you'd made different decisions and worked a little harder, or whatever the case may be, invented this thing.
It comes down to...
It could be anybody if you're willing to do the work and
being disciplined,
be disciplined
and
about it.
structured,
Yeah.
and you could have done the same thing.
And
So it
consistent.
becomes
You have to keep.
there's an
going.
aspirational factor to it where it could be anyone one day, right?
Yeah, and it's the whole idea. That's
Yeah.
why we won't raise taxes. On the wealthy is, well, what if I'm a millionaire someday? I don't want them taking my money. That could be me.
Well,
Everybody wants to be, and everybody thinks, well, someday it will be.